Let's go live now to CNN's international diplomatic editor, Nick Robertson in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Nick, thanks so much for your time. First of all, I think what has been most stunning to the Western world is the number of missiles that struck in the heart of tourist areas like Dubai. We now have some of these Gulf states pushing back. They're intercepting these missiles at sea. Have you noticed that this flurry of activity has now calmed down over the last couple of hours?
You know, I think it's really too soon to say that. It's too soon to predict precisely what Iran will do next. And that is the big question here. Just a couple of hours ago, the Saudi foreign minister spoke following a foreign ministers ministerial meeting of the GCC. It was a virtual meeting because, of course, it's not possible for the likes of Bahrain, the UAE, for Qatar, for their ministers to jump on a plane and go somewhere else and get together. And there was a joint statement that the Saudi foreign minister was speaking about afterwards, and it was, again, this language that we've heard condemning Iran's flagrant and unjustified attacks and stressing that the countries have a right to take all necessary measures to protect their stability and security. This is a very, very strong diplomatic language that's being used by these countries, and it's a message that they hope is being listened to in Tehran. But of course, that is the concern here at the moment. Who has the real power and leadership, particularly control over the military in Tehran? Are they acting together? And there's a sense right now in this region that the next 12 to 24 hours are going to be hugely important and hugely decisive over how the next week, and as you say, many weeks might play out. So it's a little too soon to sort of just look at the past couple of hours. Countries here really focusing on the next 12 and that real concern. If Iran ramps up its action in these Gulf countries, their messaging is that they're going to defend their security and stability.
Nick, one more question, if I may. I know it's just gone to AM in Riyadh there, but we had some messaging from Iran that this may have been errant missiles or not entirely directed on Gulf states. There's almost a kind of pulling back, not an apology, but a distancing itself from these attacks on the Gulf states. There is also this school of thought that if Iran does keep up pressure on the Gulf states with intent, that therefore puts pressure on the United States. What are people telling you there?
Look, I think the concern is quite simply the leadership has been removed in Iran, and it's not clear who is actually in charge. If it's one group of people, if it's a group of people that Iranian state media is putting out in pictures, do they really control everything in Iran? Or are there smaller groups that are acting and targeting in the Gulf region? That's the concern. And it's just not clear at the moment. So as long as there's that uncertainty about who actually leads in Iran, and if that leadership is willing to make the compromises that would be necessary to bring about stability and find a diplomatic off-ramp, all of that is a huge question mark. And for the Gulf countries, they don't really have a way of knowing that at the moment. Obviously, diplomacy is the track to make that happen. But at the moment, the diplomatic messages are going out, but we've yet to know if there's any real contact to understanding of what's really happening in Tehran.
Nick Robertson, live there in Riyadh. We really appreciate you today.